Good morning, CLC. I invite you now to join me in that great wave that is spirit itself. If you feel so inclined, go ahead and take a nice deep cleansing breath in, breathing in all the love and light around you. And as you release the breath, release all stress and tension you may be holding in your body. Release all stress and tension you may be holding in your mind. Go ahead and take another nice deep cleansing breath in. And as you release the breath, just allow your body to relax in this moment and allow your mind to be here now. Universal love enfolds me. Universal wisdom inspires me. Universal spirit enlightens me. Universal power encircles me. I am one, and all is well. As we begin this inner healing process, let me invite you to relax in quiet confidence, opening yourself up to the miracle-working higher power. Now symbolize the unity of your thinking and feeling nature by touching your chest with your hand, and let my words act as your own for your own inner healing, acceptance, and receptivity. I acknowledge that there is a power, intelligence, and wisdom greater than my own. I am in the midst of it, and it is in the midst of me, sensitive and responsive to my every thought, word, action, and feeling. I now make this true for myself by saying aloud, I acknowledge. Acknowledging this higher power working through my life, I admit that I am personally responsible for solving my own problems while being guided and assisted by something greater than myself. As I am ready to surrender the conflicts of my ego to the wisdom of this infinite presence, I simply speak these words. I surrender. Knowing that forgiveness is the key to unconditional love and the feeling of heaven, I now unconditionally forgive anyone and everyone who has ever injured me in any way, real or imagined. And I now forgive myself for all of my mistaken judgments and their resulting actions. From my deepest level of understanding, I now say, I forgive. Realizing that I continually experience the effects of my own thinking, I now choose to allow this higher power to recreate me deeply, filling my mind with thoughts that are only positive, constructive, loving, and beautiful. I call upon this divine inflow by stating aloud, I choose. I now center upon that one very special idea that I'm willing to accept as real for me in this coming week. Visualizing that idea as already acted upon and brought to pass. In seeing my idea become a fact of my experience, I enjoy the happiness and peace of my thought fulfilled and gratefully speak these words. I accept. Knowing that I have an everlasting place in the midst of the power that sustains all creation, as well as the support of all those around me, I allow myself to relax in the peace of fulfillment and gratitude and say, I release. Now, in my mind's eye, I envision the presence of someone near and dear to me. This can be a friend, a family member, a teacher or mentor, someone who has touched my life in deep and loving ways. Someone who may not be physically present in this room or even on this planet anymore. I turn to that image in my mind's eye and say, I'm grateful for the good in your life. Now I open my eyes, turn to the world around me, and joyfully speak to anyone physically present in this room or virtually on this broadcast, and share in confidence and gratitude in saying, I'm grateful for the good in your lives.
Well, Happy New Year. In short advance, we're not there yet. That's right. We got to wring the last out of this one. Got 2.5 days to do that. So, and the fact that it's a new year coming up is highly subjective, as you know, because different cultures follow different calendars. But pretty much everyone on Earth at least pays some attention to the calendar you and I follow, because it's how business gets done, you know. So you got to agree on when to close out the books and open a new set of books and position yourself for another go round. I guess financially is how a lot of this is driven, this whole New Year thing. But it puts a lot of weight on us because we're expected to be different. We're expected to change. Did you know that? You have 2.5 days to finish being who you are in this year. Start being who you are in the next year. All these resolutions, all this stuff, and you're a year older than you were, you know, so you feel the passage of time, and you, as they say in football, you hear footsteps. You hear footsteps, that means somebody's coming up to tackle you, you know. So we can get really, I guess the expression that comes to mind is creeped out. We can get creeped out by the whole thing. Also exhausted by it. And I thought I had everything in mind I wanted to say about this, and then Reverend Lisa came in and sat down, and she does this on Sundays. She'll come in and throw out some random fact, you know, and it's like, wow, okay, that puts a whole new... So what she said, she heard some, and you can ask her for the backstory on this, but it's great. She heard that somebody is saying online, instead of a new year, how about a gently used year? Now, there's something to that, you know, because when it's gently used, the bugs have been worked out. It's why you don't want to run out and get the latest generation of stuff, they tell you, technologically. Wait until it's been around a while, and there have been a few product recalls and some tweaks to the software and all like that. So a gently used year, sadly, that's not how it works. Or happily, that's not how it works. We get a whole new, fresh experience, don't we, in front of us. But there are certain things that we carry along. Because, as I say, it's subjective. On the 1st of January, everything isn't all that radically different. It's another day. It's a Wednesday. It may be a day that you're off from work, but you're getting ready for work on Thursday or Friday, or maybe you're off till the following week, or the kids are out of school another week. But at some point in time, you got to get busy. Some point in time. And it's still going to be winter. And you're going to be looking forward to what comes up next. In January, we have Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Let's see, in February, we have Valentine's Day, which is not lost on you because the Valentine's season started on Christmas Eve, you know. And then in our part of the world especially, we have things like Mardi Gras, Carnival, you know, that celebrate the arrival of springtime. And then you've got your personal stuff in your life, your birthdays and your anniversaries and things that are special to you and maybe known only to you that you follow, that you're preparing for. And you have goals and dreams, and all these things are in process. You've been working on all of these, and you don't know exactly when they're going to bear fruit, but, well, you keep at them. You get up every day and you go to your proverbial desk and you pick up where you left off and you do something. Well, you do the same thing in your spiritual life. There are certain things that we carry along the way that we're not aware of. And the purpose of this teaching is to make us aware of these things. Starting next week, see, I'm already looking ahead. In January, you get the basics of the science of mind. You get the basics of what we teach here. I realize that some years what happens is by the time December rolls around, we're way out in left field from the basics. And we have to kind of reel ourselves back in and get back to the Science of Mind textbook and Ernest Holmes and what he had to say. But really and truly, everything is infused with that because it's what we do here. Well, what we're going to discover as we explore the basics of the Science of Mind is this. Everybody's using the science of mind, whether they know it or not. This is not some special gift that you get. It's not some initiatory order that you're invited into. Everybody's doing this. Everybody has a mind. Everybody's using it. Everybody's being used by universal mind. And the sooner we become aware of that, the better our lives work. The sooner that we realize that there is a power, as Ernest Holmes said, there's a power for good in the universe greater than we are, and we can use it. There's a power for good in the universe greater than we are that's right where we are. It's right wherever we happen to be. And it is as we are, not how we're going to be when we become fully spiritual beings. We're already fully spiritual beings. It's so how we're being right now is the experience. It's what Spirit gets to have of us, really, as the experience that we're having of it in the world at this time. Does that make sense? That we are living God's life in the world as who we are, as the identity that we are, and as the changes that we're making, as the things that we're releasing and the things that we're accepting in our life experience. We are the experience that Spirit is having by means of us. There's nothing we really have to do about that to make that more so, but be aware of it. But be aware of it. And once you're aware of it, you can't shake the awareness of it. Once you're aware of it, it nests in you and it grows and it affects your perceptions and your relationships and your communications and everything else. So that's what we're carrying with. Or to put it in briefer form, God is going with us. God is going with us into the new year. Okay? In fact, God is already there. God is already there because God doesn't know time. God doesn't know space. God lives outside of all of that. But if you want to kind of cartoon it up a little bit, God is already there setting the table for us. God is already there working through the deep level choices that we've made to bring them to a kind of result. And this is what I'm about to tell you is what I'm really tripping off on these days, and I'm in the middle of writing about it, and you've heard it from me before, but I think it needs attention. And that is that when you pray, you seldom get just a result. You seldom get, okay, here. Okay? Prayer is not that simply, directly transactional. You know the old line about what did the yogi say to the hot dog vendor? Make me one with everything. Oh. Sorry. You've not heard that before. See, this is a memo to self, too. I can bring up this stuff that I think I just said, and it's been 30 years. I heard that from Swami Beyondananda. And if you don't know who he is, look him up. Steve Berriman, he's a comedian on the New Age trail. Anyway, seldom. So you go to the hot dog vendor, you say, make me one with everything, and they go, here. And that'll be $7.92 or something. That's seldom how prayer works. It can work that way, but it seldom works that way. And when we think it has to work that way, we're missing the point, and we're gumming up the works, really. When you say to Spirit, I'd like a hot dog, or I'd like anything, especially when it's, more than just an item, more than just an object, but even when it's just that, what you get is a process. What you get is a process. You don't get a result, you get a process most of the time. And many of us bail at that point on the process because we weren't expecting a process. And it doesn't look like what we wanted. And we say, well, I guess that didn't work. Let's try something else. Or let's give up altogether. But you get a process. You get a process. You get to learn. You know, I'd like to be a famous astronaut or something. Well, you don't put that out there, and the next thing you wake up, you're in a space capsule wearing a helmet, flying out in it. No, you get a process. You get to train. You get to learn. You get to let go of certain things, like, well, claustrophobia comes to mind. Okay, you get to learn how to live in a confined space with a few other people. There's those astronauts you may have heard of who are sort of stranded out there right now, so we can figure out a way to go get them. And they're doing fine and all, and I don't want to put this on them, but I'd be jumping out of my skin, okay? But they're trained for this. They're mentally prepared for this. You want to be mentally and physically prepared for what comes next. And so when you put it out there, as we say, to the universe, well, I'd like to do or have or be a certain thing, it says, okay, then your program begins today. First, do this. First, do this. And you might say, well, what does this have to do with what I want to do? What does, getting more sleep have to do with being an artist? What does taking better care of myself physically, noticing what I'm eating, and getting some exercise have to do with being a poet? I don't see the connection here. Well, of course you don't see the connection there. It's a process. You don't see the whole process all at once. You see the steps in the process. So then it becomes a matter of trust. Am I going to trust the process? And you've heard that expression very often. Am I going to trust the process of life and do what's before me to do so that I can build into myself all of the attributes and aspects and stuff that I'm going to need when the final goal arrives? And when the final goal arrives, it's not a final goal. It's just a marker on the way to something else. You write a book, great, good for you. Now immediately you've got ideas for another book and a book after that. And you write a bunch of books and people say, oh, you're a writer of books, how great. Except now part of you wants to paint. Part of you wants to make music. Part of you wants to start a business that sells Christmas trees or something. Who knows, And you build on all of that. The discipline that you learned as the writer infuses everything else that you do. This is how we grow. This is how we develop. So in the new year, and all years thence to come, expect a process as a through line, as a thread running through all of it. Expect God and expect a process of manifestation. That's how manifestation works. Here's something else to expect in all of it. People. There will be people in the new year, okay? There will be people. You just heard these people sung about. From a distance, you look like a friend until I remember we're at war. From a distance, you look like somebody who I'd like to know better. From a distance, you remind me of me. Well, there are going to be people in the new year. There are going to be plenty of people that you know already, and there are going to be a bunch of new people you haven't met yet. And you don't have to go far to meet them. Do you like to travel? Well, then you'll travel and you'll meet people living in other places. But if you don't like to travel, you stay here, they'll come to you. They'll come to you. All of these new people. And the people that you know that you brought with you from the previous years, they're busy changing. You know why they're changing? Because in their lives they have process, just like you do. So they're all working on stuff. And you can say goodbye to them one day, and meet them on the street the next morning, and they're different than they were because they've had a spiritual awakening. or an intellectual stimulation or something. They've got a new light in their eyes. They've got a plan. They've got a plan, see, that they're working on now. And isn't that exciting and isn't that interesting? And you can tell how comfortable you are with your own plan by how you react to their plan. Because if somebody comes to you and they say, I've got this great idea, I'm going to do all this wonderful stuff, and inside you're seething with envy and resentment, and who are you to do this kind of thing, and this Jekyll and Hyde sort of deal comes over, well, that tells you something, doesn't it, about your own emotional state, about your own psychological process. Whereas if you're thrilled for them, you see a couple walking hand in hand in the park, and you think, that's disgusting. Look at those people. How repulsive. What does that tell you? Nothing about it. Has nothing to do with them, does it? No. And when you say, love, isn't love beautiful, So you want to cultivate that part of yourself that recognizes that other people's process dovetails with your process, and how you feel about them is indicative in the long run of how you feel about you deep down inside. Everything is giving us clues to self-awareness. Self-awareness is not hard to find. It's hard maybe to not want to tune out from time to time. It's like, all right, enough self-awareness. Let me go into some oblivion for a while. So I've had it. This is heavy. This is heavy duty stuff. But it's what you wanted. It's what you asked for. You know how you asked? You know how you know you asked for it? You're here. You're here. You showed up. You could have been anywhere out there in star space and golden dust and whatever the thing is, where, like, how we poetically represent wherever it is we came from. You could still be doing that. You could still be asleep, but you're not. You're here. You got stuff to do. You got people who rely on you. You got a plan. You got a process. You got a purpose. So people will come with you. Also, plants and animals and nature will come with you into the new year. It's still here. It's beautiful. It's wonderful. There'll be holidays and birthdays and anniversaries and all of that. All of that will continue. Also in the new year will be challenges, struggles, opportunities. Some of the opportunities will come disguised as struggles and challenges. But all struggles and challenges open themselves to present opportunity. You'll still feel them, but it won't. It's like Ernest Holmes says, your grief will be robbed of hopelessness. He has a beautiful passage in the Science of Mind textbook on this. I can't give you chapter and verse right now, but you can look it up, where he's talking about immortality. And he says, well, I believe that life continues in an upward spiral. I believe that we continue to learn and grow, and we maintain our identity. He's not alone in that, but he's also a bit of an outlier, because there are a lot of people in the metaphysical community who think you just kind of merge back into the vast golden stardust field, right? He says, no, all the work you've done is not for nothing. It's, well, you take it with you. You take it with you and you grow. However, he says, that's the good news. The other news is that people here will miss you, and that grief is a very real thing. So to grieve the loss of others is natural. In other words, feel the feelings of it. However, he says, what will rob your grief of hopelessness is the recognition that they're not gone. They've just turned a corner beyond your sight. And that tomorrow's another day, and that life will hold you and carry you through the rough spots, and that everything will open out into some kind of an opportunity. And every grief that you grieve in your life builds into you greater compassion and awareness for the suffering of others. And so rather than just kind of stepping over people along the way, you'll be able to notice what's going on with them, and you won't turn and run from your own feelings about it. And just like when we see the lovers in the park, or the person who's suddenly prosperous, and we think that's disgusting and how awful and they don't deserve that, so it is that very often when we see other people having untidy feelings, okay, it makes us weird. And we don't want them to do that. Stop that. Pull yourself together, or do that privately. It's because you're harshing my mellow. Okay. And what it's an old stoner expression. And what it really means is I'm afraid I might have to feel something here with you, and I'm really not up for that. So we want to get comfortable with the idea of change, with the idea of process, with the idea of our own feelings, and going through the experiences of life that we do softens us up to that, to other people. When you're a little kid, you don't understand death, but the older you get and the more change that happens, there are exceptions to that, but children in wartime, but for the most part, it's the older that you get, the more people kind of come and go out of your life, and you realize, wow, all of this has to mean something, and you start to get kind of prosaic about it and philosophical about it at the same time as you're deeply feeling these changes. So in the coming year, there are going to be a lot of people come into your life, and to be perfectly honest with you, there are going to be a few people leave it too. And some of them, you're not ready for them to go. But it's going to happen. And that's just part of life. And I stand here saying that, and I'm looking at an empty chair right there. There's an empty chair right there. There's a lot of empty chairs in this room that are that I can identify. I could put place cards down for people that have been part of this community that we have loved and who sat in the same place every week, just like most of us do. Ken Dwight sat right there. Ken Dwight sat right there for the better part of 30 years. In this building and in the other building when we were upstairs and there. Ken Dwight left us on the 16th of December, and we'll have a memorial service here for him, I believe the end of January. I'm in touch with his siblings, But I didn't expect Ken to not ride out the year with us. Okay, I didn't expect Reverend Marcia to go 3 years ago when she went. I didn't expect so many of the people that have been a big part of this center, a big part of our lives to go. And that's just talking about this center. Because I got a lot of people outside of here I know, just like you do. People in your family, people that you have other associations with, and suddenly we get this idea in mind, well, when they're 90, then sure, then it's time. Because they're into extra time now, and they got to be tired and they got to be ready to. Well, the older I get, I'm saying let's not be so hasty here, coming up with these random numbers about when people are done, But it really throws you a curve when they're right in the middle of something, when they're right in the middle of creating something. Like Marcia was, she was teaching a class here. She was it's smack dab in the middle of teaching a class on Zoom. She had a lesson plan for the following week. She had a whole lot else going on in her life. And you look around and there's an empty chair where Marcia was. And that's brutal and that's hard. But what it does for all of the rest of us is healthy. It makes us appreciate life more, take care of ourselves, take care of each other, take care of her family, and so on. It does all of these things. It's part of life. It's part of life. One of the great paradoxes, except it isn't really a paradox, it's a downright conflict. One of the conflicts that we have in metaphysical teaching is that we really, really, really want change, and we really, really, really resist change. At exactly the same time. And then we wonder why, why things aren't. Okay, if you want a flowing experience of life, if you want life to be like a river past your door, which is what it's going to be whether you want it to be that or not, so if you want to participate in that experience, then you have to be open to the fact that sometimes it's going to gather some things off the shore that you weren't quite ready to surrender. It just does that. It just does that. The good news is belief that in the long run, we're all going to run across something like the Rainbow Bridge, like they tell us that our beloved animals do. and they see you and they come running and they're barking and meowing and all like that. Well, you know what? People do the same thing, I really believe. They'll say, wait, is that who I think it is? That looks like a friend. No, that's not just a friend. That's somebody I spent years with. And here they come, okay? And man, I can't wait for them to catch me up on what I was talking to somebody the other day about this, and who's in the later stages of getting ready to transition at some point soon, and the idea that somebody that they loved went a couple of years ago, that they had a long history with in their family. And I said, well, they're waiting for you to catch you up. Let me tell you how it is here in the new experience of life. When you come to creative life, if you were brought here by a friend, or some of you were ambushed by a relative, and David, and some, right? Somebody said, you got to come to creative life. It's this wonderful community, and they're also, you had questions, didn't you? What can I expect? What should I wear? Are the people, what's the age group or something? I don't know. Is there food? That's always a big one. Will there be food there? You had questions about it, and especially about the teaching. Are they going to yell at me? Is there a lot of sin talk? Am I going to get called out? Stand up and account for who you are, So you had some questions. Well, imagine if somebody said, I got a whole non-physical world for you to drop your body and come join me in. You're going to have some questions. Isn't it nice to know that there are people that are already there who can show you the ropes? Isn't that great? Well, here's how it is. Meals 3 times a day. You see God out on the pickleball court and ask her whatever you want, right? Well, why not? Why not? So these are some thoughts on what we carry into the year ahead. You're in process. Most of what you're up to right now continues with you. If you want to make resolutions, great. As Lisa put up a meme on our Facebook page, try not to make them punishing and shaming. Those really don't work. They don't work any better when they come from us than when they come from other people. If you stand in front of the mirror and you say, I hate my body, I'm so fat, I need to do something, what do you think your body's going to do as a result of that? Okay? It's going to want to hold on to stuff. It's going to want to, your whole metabolism is going to react in a unsupportive kind of way as a result of that. Same way if you shame yourself over you're not smart enough or you're not motivated enough or something like this, then it triggers a reaction of opposition. But if instead, one last thing for you to take into the coming year, start with the end in mind. Picture an outcome that you wish to manifest in your life and then be open to the process that's going to lead to it. You will be astonished at what happens. You will ultimately wind up where you choose to be, with the major caveat that where you choose to be will not look like exactly what you thought it would look like, because when you arrive there, you will have changed. You will not be the person who wants something. You'll be the person who inhabits something, you see. And there's a whole different mindset to that. You'll belong there. It will be right for you. Not a stretch, not a guess, not a hope or a wish or a will or a longing. It will be, well, a demand, really, that you placed on the universe saying, I did my part. I showed up. Here I am, rested and ready, suited up, prepared for what comes next. Put me in, coach, and watch what happens. So let's know together now, one life, one power, one presence. It's all we need. This one goes with us, travels with us, as us, before us, below us, behind us, above us, and all the way around. This one. It has us. It holds us. It knows us as its own. And everything that gets accomplished in this world happens through us or someone like us. And it might as well be us. If there's a new idea to be had, it's going to be a human that has it. Very likely. Why not be that person yourself? If there's someone who's going to bring peace, it's going to be a human. The animals don't have a problem with peace. The plants certainly don't. So it's going to be a human. It's going to say, why don't we try this? Or here, I'll be the first to drop my guard. And see pure spirit, see the Christ mind in you. Why not have that be us? Whatever is waiting, we are willing. An infinite mind working through us is mighty to heal, mighty to restore, mighty to prosper, mighty to do all of that which needs to be done, which ought to be done. And so we show up as the rest of that equation. We implement the idea of universal, everywhere spirit. I'm grateful for 2024, for all that has been, for gains and losses, for experiences of understanding and confusion. All of it, all of it. And I release it in gratitude and turn now toward 2025 and say, bring it. I can't wait. Thank you, infinite presence of Spirit, Mother, Father, God, that this is so. I release this word now, calling it done, and so it is.
So here are some gently used announcements. I couldn't resist that, sorry. Thank you, Brian. That was great. Because what we say up here is also unpredictable, right? Just a quick reminder, next week, as Reverend Jesse said, we start our series. In January, we always start again with the basics of science of mind. So if you don't know anything about science of mind, this is a wonderful time to start coming. Or watching online. Yeah. For the ones of you online and the ones of you in the room who don't know, whenever I forget something, there's a front row here that continually reminds me what I'm supposed to be saying. So I can't forget anything because I've got these constant reminders going. Or they'll be waving their arms and memoing and making faces at me and who knows what else. So, but on a really serious note, you know, Reverend Jesse just brought back to me Reverend Marcia, and it was traumatic for a lot of us because she and I were teaching a class and she died the day before we were supposed. I found out in the morning as we were supposed to be teaching the class in the evening. So it was really traumatic. So as we come into giving time, I just want to say we're very grateful for all that you've given to us this past year. It helps us to keep going. It helps us to keep the lights on. But it also helps us, more importantly, to take this message, which is a positive message, out into the world. And our whole purpose is not only to become better ourselves, but it's to help the world become a better place. So please say with me now, divine love, through me, and multiplies all the good I am and have, all the good I give and receive. I am prosperous now, and so it is.
Because Jesse referenced it, I'm going to read you the meme that he referenced that I put up on the Facebook page. This year, instead of making a resolution to change yourself, make a resolution to love yourself. Then positive change will come naturally because we want good things for people we love and we know they are worth the effort. You needed to hear the other half too. And just because he made the reference, there's another meme, and I'll put this one up too. Remember, whenever you are in the position to help someone, be glad and always do it because it's the universe answering somebody's prayer through you. So, all right. And then the practitioner in the room, who should be moving now, is Jim, because he wants to do the closing treatment. So he's going to head up here and do that.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you. So I bring my mind to the good that is beyond my ego, to the good that is the font of life, the presence of wisdom, knowingness, and faith, knowing that good is always everywhere manifesting. I speak these words for everyone gathered here, that we see and know of this good, and we open our hearts to this good, and it comes to us because it's already there. It offers us solace in times that we do not see it. It offers us wisdom in times that we find ourselves wondering. And it offers us peace in times where we may doubt it. I'm so grateful for these words, for this gathering, for these people that are here, for the people that are online. And I release this truth into the law of creation so that it lives with us and through us. And so it is.
Stay with me now. Something wonderful is happening through me. Something wonderful is happening through me. I feel it in my body. I feel it in my mind. I feel it in everything I am. I choose it. I trust it. I use it. And I love it. So it is. Happy New Year.